I'm Brianna McHenry.
And I'm Stephanie Della Porta, and we are your guides for the When in Bloom podcast.
Join us weekly as we include tips, tricks, and alignment tools that support us on our personal journeys,
bringing you back to the knowing that you have all that you need within you to bloom. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 7th episode. This episode is for all you beautiful empathic souls out there. Today, we are talking about being an empath, how to take the edge off from being an empath via grounding, ways to protect your energy, how to distinguish between your feelings and someone else's, releasing that energy. And before we pull our oracle cards for the week, we're going to be answering a question one of you sent in. All right, get ready for all the feels.
It's so exciting. I feel like my whole life I've just given myself this hardcore label of being an empath. But I never really knew anything about it other than I can feel everyone's feelings.
I think that's the challenge too, is not realizing it's not even yours.
Yeah, and not realizing that you can move through it. You don't have to live in suffering.
It kind of does feel that way sometimes too. But it can also be kind of a superpower too, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's in balance.
Yeah.
All right. So it's funny, since both of us didn't really understand what the word empath was previously, how would you describe it now?
Right now in this moment, I would describe it as everyone. Everyone is an empath.
Oh, I like that.
It's really just the ability of being able to feel energy and emotions around you. And I think we're all born being able to do that. But it's really when you can just feel the energy that's around you, and it can be in the physical or it can be in the metaphysical arena.
That's like people that don't believe they're empaths, because I agree with you. Now I realize that we all are empathic, because as human beings, really all beings, we can feel, right? So, and you think of movies and television and books and music, how moved all of us are when we hear something that really moves us, right? So in essence, we're actually tapping into that frequency because we're empathic. We're able to feel the energy behind whatever's being shown or heard, right? So it's so funny. I know I growing up and and being honest now as well, I have a tendency that I can get really sucked into a movie or a show or a TV series or a book. And I realize now it's because I'm attaching to that frequency and I'm taking on that frequency as my own. And I'm not even realizing that, when you watch something that makes you cry or makes you happy or makes you laugh, it's because of our empathic nature that we're actually able to feel into all of these different modalities.
I actually don't watch TV at all anymore.
You watch movies.
I don't. I guess I watch Disney movies, but in the Disney movies, I fast forward the scary parts. We're watching Beauty and the Beast. We do not watch the part when the wolves are there. I watch Ancient Aliens and that's it. We were watching the Nostradamus Effect, and even that was too much energy for me to just to experience, because I know prophecies can be really scary. So that's I understand the energy of it, but it's the energy behind the show is what I'm feeling and what I'm connecting to. Because I understand that for Nostradamus, his prophecies were here because we have the power to change the future. So it's just being hey, you guys better change your beliefs and start loving everyone, or everyone's gonna there's gonna be a lot of fire. That's all I heard from the first episode I was able to watch.
Yeah, but that's exactly it, right? It's you have to stay away from some of those because you are attaching to that frequency. And sometimes it's subconscious. It's just because we feel something so deeply that we don't even realize that it's ours. We don't even realize that it's not ours. Like how we can watch a movie and just start crying because the person's crying in the movie. It's a sad scene, the music, everything, the way they're acting, the music that's being played in the background. So I think it's just such a wonderful example of how you said everybody is essentially an empath because we all feel.
I want to really invite you to do some things that kind of take the edge off of carrying around the energy of other people. So just offering up, one of my absolute favorite ways to really get grounded as an empath is through earthing. And earthing is really the act of walking barefoot outside, gardening, sitting in the sun, just getting your physical body in nature. So where I live right now, I have a balcony. So I have plants all over my balcony, and I will put my hands in the dirt of my plants. And one of the ways that I earth, aside from walking outside barefoot, because we also have so many bees here when the weather gets warmer, like our whole grass area is covered in clovers and dandelions. So I'm really scared to step on bees because I usually step on a bee every summer. And that is not fun. So I've been really taking my earthing onto my balcony this year. And I even have a pool, like one of those little cheap plastic pools, and I filled it up with dirt and grass. And so I have like a little grass area for me and George, my cat. So
I love that. Well, if you can't get to the dirt, bring the dirt to you.
That's right. I like have been contemplating if I should just like make the whole patio floor grass.
But that's so important though, to get grounded, and especially with the earth.
Actually, one of my favorite things is crystals. My like ultimate grounding crystal is a smoky quartz. Oh, which also reminded me, when I first went and got a smoky quartz to help me feel more grounded, I also asked my yoga instructor for mudras. And there's some mudras that I used to do a lot when I was meditating or when I was doing yoga to help me feel a little bit more grounded. The mudra that I used the most, I don't remember what it's called, but you place one hand over the other, and then you connect the tip of your thumbs. And I would just sit cross-legged and then place my hands in my lap. And that's one of the ways that I would really ground. It's funny because now another one is coming to me too. Also sitting cross-legged, I would put my hands on my knees, but palms face down. And I would set the intention to really ground down and just kind of be held within the earth, because I know before I started fully understanding and embracing myself as an empathic being, I almost always felt like I was floating away.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I like using mudras. Admittedly, though, I don't use them often enough. But I do find that they help when I actually remember to use them. And I love using them when I'm outside, especially when I'm sitting on the grass, because when we're sitting outside, we sync our electromagnetic field to the Earth's electromagnetic field, and that just like naturally elevates our own frequency. So I think it's really important with grounding, and that also ties into eating grounding foods. And for grounding foods, I consider foods that are grounded to be ones that grow in the earth. So potatoes, squash, all kinds of squash, butternut squash, acorn squash. I have them all.
Brussels
a lot of root vegetables. Yeah. I always think, I think of grounding as root vegetables, as if it's the root chakra. That's how I associate it with. So when I'm shopping, I remember to keep me in balance.
I also would really love to offer up a grounding meditation that I used to do every single day. I would get to work, and before I would get out of the car, I would do this grounding meditation. You start really focusing in on the energy of your heart. And I think it's almost comical, because do you notice a theme yet? We always start at our heart, and remember that's where like our soul really lives. So it's another thing to just kind of bring you back to your soul, into your truth, into your essence, and really feel and embrace that wholeness, that energy all around you. And then we imagine our root chakra right at the base of our spine as this beautiful bright red color. And then we're taking that and grounding it and pulling our energy down within the earth and sending that energy all the way to the core of the earth, and then pulling that earth's energy back up to kind of create that cord and that connection to kind of remind you that you're here and you're fully connected to the earth at all times. All you need to do is tap into it.
If you find that visualizing is a little bit difficult for you, another thing that I like to do is I like to use water. And basically, if I have an interaction with someone and I'm feeling quite drained, I like to either wash my hands under cold water, or I will hop in the shower and take a cold shower really quickly, just to kind of allow the energy to just wash off of me, because I also like the physical sensation of washing energy off and it clearing my energetic field.
I do something similar in the shower. Something that came up for me a lot when I was really feeling ungrounded was Reiki, actually. And I ended up getting a Reiki attunement and lots of Reiki when I was really first opening up and discovering this part of me. But I'll Reiki my shower head. So before I get in the bath, I Reiki my shower head and I set the intention for this water to really cleanse and clear anything that doesn't serve me and anything I need to get rid of. And then I just soak in the Reiki, because I also do shower baths. So I turn the shower on and then I just like sit in the bath with the water running over me.
That's perfect. I think it's so important to mention that you can set an intention with water, because water actually holds vibrational frequencies. A Japanese doctor, Dr. Masaru Emoto, actually looked at the correlation between your thoughts and its effect on water. And whenever someone spoke or even thought of positive things, the water would create these beautiful crystals. And whenever someone spoke negative things or even had negative thoughts, the water molecules would appear very destructive. So I think it's so good that you mentioned that water holds a vibrational imprint. So whatever you're thinking, especially if you're stating it out loud.
Yeah, I actually just started praying over my water, like while I drink it, and I set the intention over it. I do the same thing with my coffee in the morning, and because guys, I went back to coffee in the morning. But I really just set that intention in my big glass of water before I drink it.
We have tags on our jars of water that mine says love on one side and creativity on another. And Justin, my partner, has his own on his as well. And we switch it every now and then just to kind of imprint the water with positive attributes and a higher frequency.
That's such a good idea.
That's actually another thing too, for ways to ground: drinking water, allowing it to flush out the other energies that you've taken on internally.
Oh yeah. And that is such an easy intention. Like, so just hold your glass of water. I put one hand on the bottom and one hand on the top. And then I would just say, as I drink this water, it removes and flushes and cleanses me from any energy that is not mine or doesn't serve me.
That's beautiful.
Something that is really good too is just protecting your energy before anyone else's energy comes onto you.
Oh, so important. I forget to do that a lot.
I forget to do it now, that I like meditate and feel like I know how to consciously connect now. But before, I was kind of living pretty fearful of all of this stuff. And every single morning, and actually anytime I felt anyone else's energy on me, I would visualize myself in like a big white protective bubble of light. And then I would call in Archangel Michael and I would ask him for protection.
Sometimes I still do that. And the way that I do it is I start with my hands at my heart center in prayer. And then I kind of lift them over my head. And then I allow my hands to fall over my body as if I'm creating this shield of light around me and everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another good thing. So I had pretty bad postpartum anxiety, and I used to do that around like my home. Like I would visualize this big bubble around my room, and then my whole apartment, and then the whole building that I live in, and then the whole community that I live in. just like wrap it up in this nice big bubble. And I still do that for other people before we go to bed too. I wrap them in a nice, happy bubble of light. And then I call in Archangel Michael to keep them nice and cozy.
I do that too. I call on Archangel Michael a lot, and I do it to kind of create an energetic shield. That's what I like to think of it as, an energetic shield of light.
That brings up a really good point too, is that think about the people that you're surrounding yourself with and think about how they're making you feel. So do you have a certain friend that after you talk to them or after you spend a few hours with them, you kind of feel drained, or you might have regretted hanging out with them?
That definitely happens to me. And I think it's not just friends, it's pretty much anyone. It can be family too.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times with your family, they're the ones that you have the least amount of boundaries with, especially with the generation of parents. Like for our generation of parents, I think they don't allow, they just never allowed themselves to have boundaries with their parents, and they never allowed their children to have boundaries with their family.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's just been passed down, really, that belief system and that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, especially because my family is European and my partner's family is European. So we find that it happens a lot. And then sometimes when you're getting depleted energetically from being around people too much, it's really hard to explain it to people that don't understand what that means. It's hard to say to someone, especially a family member, hey, I'm empathic. So everything you're feeling, I can kind of feel that right now, and I don't want to feel it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you end up distancing yourself and staying away. And then that also has repercussions on its own, because people judge and perceive that as sometimes as arrogance, right? So
mm-hmm. It is, but really it is just the projection of the other person who doesn't want to do the inner work. It's not our fault that we can see their inner world. Okay, it's not. That's on them.
No, yeah, that's so true. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes, especially because guilt and shame is so strongly used in our society as a way to program and condition us to do what is expected, especially within family. And sometimes I don't even think it's conscious from other people. It's just like you said, it's a projection because it's something that's just been taught for so long that it just continues this karmic cycle, really, of shame and guilt, shame and guilt. You have to do this. And then you start saying yes to things you really want to say no to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like, oh, I can't say no because it's my mom. And it's like, what do you mean you can't say no because it's your mom? Like,
all this to say that it also doesn't mean that you cut off every relationship you have that you feel that someone is low vibrational, because you might be that anchor of this higher frequency that's coming in to just naturally uplift them. And I think sometimes, especially when you begin to identify as an empath, it's really, I find for myself, is finding the balance between high vibrational people and low vibrational people, because once again, that becomes another label that we're putting on someone else, and that's just creating more division. So I think it just comes down to knowing who you are. Like for me, I really feel into my body. I get it when I know that something isn't right for me, or someone's energy is kind of off-putting for me or energetically depleting. I get sort of a gut stomach reaction. I get nauseous, I get anxious. I walk away not feeling uplifted, but feeling really, really tired. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, not so much anymore. But it used to happen to me all the time. There's even people where I met them and I was like, this is not going to be a good idea. And then years went by and I just kind of ignored it. And then it ended up not being a good idea.
I know what you mean though. It used to happen a lot more. Once I started setting boundaries,
Yeah.
it happens a lot less. Now I know generally, I don't want to say right away, but within a good amount of time, I can tell if someone's for me or not for me.
Mm-hmm. Along with boundaries though, so I know I really felt like I had no control over so much stuff. So really stepping into the power that I create my reality and I'm in control of my life, and really just taking that power back and knowing that like I am here to do something amazing has been really helpful. But so when you have those interactions with people, ask yourself, get quiet and sit, and you can even free write about this, journal about it, especially because I bought a new journal. But, but ask, what am I doing to call these people into my life? They're coming in because you have that energy within yourself somewhere, and you either got to release it, you got to learn from it. So just really get quiet and say, soul, what are you trying to teach me? And you can even ask, like, how can I keep this energy out of my energy and out of my space? And what can I do to kind of embrace it and heal it within myself, so that way I'm not manifesting it in the physical.
That's perfect. It kind of goes back to that image of having that inner garden within yourself. So what happens when all the beautiful flowers have been plucked from you and everyone's taken from you and they've stripped you bare? Do you just stop tending the garden and just hope it regenerates? No, you can't do that. You have to begin planting and pruning and sowing those seeds back again. And the only one that's going to do that is you, not the people that take all of your flowers, all of your energy, but you're the one that has to fill up your own cup. So it's really important to really make it a priority to ground and to clear and to recharge your own energy, because you can't give from an empty cup. And I've definitely learned that the hard way.
My Reiki master gave the analogy of fill your own cup up, and then what flows over your cup, that's what you give to others. So think about filling up your cup. What are some things that brings you intrinsic joys? Like, what do you really enjoy doing, and make time for it? People say that being selfish is like a bad thing. And I think being selfish is the most selfless thing that you can do, because when you are selfish with your time, then in your energy, then you have time to give to others. Like, you really have to nurture your soul. So then that way, whatever excess there is, you can put that out into the world and help other people with it.
Yes. And then you're giving from a place of authenticity instead of obligation.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's such a good one. Really look at where you are giving from. Yeah, that's amazing. Let's talk about distinguishing between our feelings and other people's feelings.
Yes, pretty much the definition of empath. Feeling everything.
Yeah, that's kind of how I that's actually how I got into this work. Is I was feeling I think I was feeling like really sad and really alone, and I was having all of these really intense emotions, and I knew that they weren't mine. And I was at a metaphysical shop, because I used to go to metaphysical shops like all of the time and just talk to the owners or whoever was working there. And she was like, be careful of whose energy you have.
You know, I was actually given a visual from my guides. I think it was, I don't know, a couple months ago. And the words auric orbit dropped into my mind. And basically, they were showing me that if you're a planet, what are you allowing into your orbit? Because you have a gravitational pull of your energetic field. So what's floating around there? And it just makes me think about what you just said, where whose energy am I holding in my auric orbit?
Loving this place of ease. For me, one of my favorite things to do is to get quiet and ask, is this feeling mine or is it someone else's? And if it belongs to someone else, I'll ask Archangel Metatron to come in and kind of clear out that energy and get rid of it. See it later. I just will kind of state that this energy is transmuting back into divine love, or going back to God, going back to source, whatever you want to imagine it as. And then if it's my own energy, then I ask, what can I do to work with this? How can I move through this and really feel it and express it at its fullest? So then that way I don't have to feel it anymore. Because you got to really sit with your emotions and your feelings and what you're going through to get to the other side and not have that bother you anymore.
I think that becomes the most challenging for people is actually sitting with yourself. I know it was for me at the beginning because we're taught so much to always be on the go and to move all the time and to always be doing something instead of just being. So when the world slowed down last year, a lot of people were left with, well, what do I do now? It's just me. I'm just by myself. And I think that also provides an opportunity to get to know yourself, because sitting with yourself allows you to ask these questions, like you said, and you may just be surprised at how you answer yourself. Sounds so funny.
Yeah. Well, you got to get quiet in order to hear your messages and hear and see what's coming in. And it's really in these states of presence and in this present moment that we're in where you can really find like the fullness and the healing and the just like the divinity that is where we are or our experience. If you want some help too, you can just ask your guides. I ask my guides, just, can you help release this energy, whether it be mine, whether it not be mine? Another thing that I really love stating is I release any and all energy that does not belong to me. I release any and all energy that is not for my best and highest good. And in releasing that energy, I also like to replace it with love or divine love or consciousness.
I almost forgot that sometimes I'll even picture like a sword made of light, and I'll just I'll just move my hand down in front of my body and cut any cords that are attaching me to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I also wanted to, I don't think we've actually talked about this, is that the words like guides and universe and cosmos and their angels and God, they're all interchangeable in source.
Yes.
So use what resonates with you. If you want to ask your angels for clearing, if you want to give it up to God, ask God for the information, whoever or whatever it comes up for you, that's what you want to really run with and lean into. So I try and like say different words, but they all really mean the same thing.
Yes, it's just a label that we're putting on this divine energy, because I do the same thing where I use different words, but I'm really, for me personally, I'm just referring to the same creative energy that we all are, that we're all fragments of.
I really love breath work too. I honestly don't even know. I really don't know anything about breath work other than it is life-changing. Like if you're really feeling stuck, or if you feel like you have an emotion or a situation that you just can't move through, do a breath work. Go on Insight Timer. They have breath work meditations.
Last year was the first time I heard of breath work, and I did it. And I honestly, I set a goal for myself to do it once a week. And then unfortunately, that never happened. I'm really bad with that sometimes. That was my goal. I haven't done it. We should do it because I haven't done it since last year. And I agree with you. Breathwork is so powerful, and I didn't understand it. I was a little hesitant at first, and I kind of, in all honesty, I got kind of afraid during the first time. And I know that's normal because your fears kind of come up, and that sort of energy, you're just releasing that energy. But the sensations afterwards I felt like such a clear channel. Like my energy was just clear. And it's almost the way that I felt breathwork was because I have such power in my hands. Like my hands are my wands, and everything happens in my hands. So during breathwork, my hands just vibrate. And there was one point where I couldn't move my hands off the ground. Like my hands magnetized to the earth, and it was electrical, and I could just feel electrical currents just running through them. And it was incredible because as an artist, my hands, that's how I portal. That's basically like part of being a portal is, transferring these different energies onto canvas. So it was, yeah, I don't have enough words to describe that either. What do you describe as breathwork? I don't even know, because it's just so life-changing that I should do it more often.
Yeah, I actually was telling my friend yesterday when I went to do breath work that I was going to go do it. And he asked me what it was. And I was like, I basically was like, oh, it's just a way to release energy. And I'm going to ugly cry a lot. And
Yes.
He was asking me like, well, why are you crying? Like, what's wrong? And it's like, oh, it's just a way to release. Like I've only done breath work like 5 times, but the first time I did it, hardcore ugly cry, like so much ugly crying. And I don't think I've ever done breath work where I haven't cried. And that's like another way to really just release energy is through crying too, you know. Sometimes you just feel really great after a nice big cry. I'm not one of those people. I don't feel good after crying, but like some people are.
That's true. I never actually feel, I always end up feeling my head hurts after I cry. And then I have to drink like 2 liters of water to get myself balanced again.
Yeah, I don't mind crying, meditating, like those type, like, but yeah.
But you're right. Breathwork tears, so powerful. The whole thing is powerful. It's literally just, it's so interesting because it's such a physical, tangible way to feel energy, to really feel the release of energy. For me, anyways, I felt it very physically.
Mm-hmm. I always know that I need to do breath work when I am feeling really unbalanced too. For me, I feel a lot of things. You know what? My theme lately has been anxiety, but really holding or feeling anxiety or fear when that comes up, it's like a nice big sign for me that I'm out of balance and I got to kind of find my way back to center.
Yeah, especially with social media, I find that can unbalance me a lot very quickly. And I found it very helpful to take frequent breaks from all those platforms. Because we don't even know the energetic effects of social media yet. Because if our intentions are as powerful as they've been proven to be and as we know them to be, we're just accepting there's such a big exchange of energy happening on digital platforms that we don't even understand because we can't physically see it with our eyes, the energy going back and forth, the negative comments, the judgments, the perceptions, the criticisms, that we don't realize all the energy that, especially for me and you doing a podcast. I mean, we have, a lot of people listening to this. So for us, I mean, we're actually sharing an energy right now on a multidimensional level. Just because we can't comprehend it and we can't see, behind the curtain doesn't mean that we're not absorbing or exchanging.
Yeah. That. And for me too, I've been noticing a lot. Think about what you are taking in on social media and you can manifest that vibration into your life. And it can just be something, it's so easy to like go really just hardcore, go down the rabbit hole with some things. And the energy of it or the frequency of it could definitely not be in alignment with you. And it'll kind of just bring your energy and your frequency down. And then it can become like your beliefs. And then that's what you start to create. And we don't want that.
No, we don't. And then you have to think that every person you interact with after that, you're transferring that energy through whatever exchange you're doing with that person, that it really does come full circle when we keep going back to we're all one, because that's exactly what happens. We continue to exchange energy with each other. So I think it's really important to be mindful of the energy that we're consuming. Like I said earlier, with the auric orbit, it's what are you taking in? What are you consuming? And we're not just talking physically, we're talking mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, physically, with your eyes. What are you drinking? What are you seeing? What are you watching? Everything really, and, also as well, going back to water, our body is over 70% water, and water has been proven to hold the imprint of an energetic. So you're literally, everything you consume, doesn't matter how you consume it, you are holding the energetic imprint of it. So that's going to affect your auric orbit, your gravitation, the gravitational pull of your energetic field. Mm-hmm. Another thing when recognizing when you've become a little unbalanced as an empath is, my guides told me a couple of weeks ago that sometimes it can come off as arrogance if your ego isn't in check. So for example, it's thinking how someone feels or not even being able to read a situation appropriately because you've identified so much with the word empath and, being the feeler of all feels, that sometimes if your ego isn't in check, you can come off as being a little arrogant to other people, because sometimes, we can't claim to know how everyone is feeling. So I find that sometimes I have to remind myself that as well, especially when it comes, reading others comes naturally and it comes easily because those empathic abilities are heightened. It's just important to also maintain humility with those abilities.
We have our first voice message and we're really excited. I'm really excited.
I'm excited too.
And we're going to answer it.
Hi, ladies. So I know that you both touched on the fact that when you first started channeling your spirit guides that you had fear, or there was some fear associated with it. So I'm just wondering, what are some tangible ways that I can move past that fear? Whether it's fear about what messages will come through or fear about who I'm actually going to be connecting with. What are ways that I can try to move beyond that to get in touch with my guides?
Sophie, thank you so much for this question. And this is honestly such an amazing question. I struggled with this myself a lot in the beginning, which is one of the major reasons I took the intuitive course that led me to Brianna. I really want to stress the importance of creating a physical space that you feel safe in when you're connecting. So for me, a tangible way that I found worked for me was selenite wands. I used selenite wands to form a protective grid around the four corners of my bedroom because that was where I was connecting. I do want to note though, don't get selenite wet because it will disintegrate. Actually, as a general rule, it's probably good to keep away any crystal or stone that ends with ITE, like kyanite or celestite, angelite, like in their raw forms, because water is not their friend. And so I still do this every now and then with the crystals just to keep the crystal clear. And then basically after that, I would take the four crystals and I would place them in each corner of the room. I would place a selenite wand there. Basically, this selenite is really good to create a safe and quiet space that doesn't allow outside influences in. And among its many attributes, it's a calm stone that instills deep peace. And selenite wands can be used to prevent anything external from influencing the mind. And it's also got a really strong connection to the angelic realm. And I did find, especially for myself, that when I set the intention of connecting with angels, because I grew up with a Christian background, I felt a little bit more peace with that, and it helped to calm the fear. Another thing that I did was I didn't connect at night because there was such fear around connecting with, unknown beings or entities. I would connect in the morning when there was daylight out and I felt safe. So once again, it goes back to the importance of creating a physical space that you feel safe in. You can do all the things, but it will take time because it's a belief that you carry. So I found that the more that I connected, the more it became natural to me. It became familiar and the fears sort of just fell away over time, which makes sense because we fear what is unknown. So the more we make it known, we make it familiar, the less scary it eventually becomes.
I held so much fear around this exact thing. And one of the things that I have listed to talk about is selenite. Selenite is going to be your best friend. Get a nice big wand. I used to like to wave it over my body to kind of clear the energy. I would make full moon water. So I would take some water, put it in like a mason jar or a clear bowl, leave it out in the moon, set an intention in it. I even would do this with like the astrological, whatever moon it was. Like Scorpio, full moon water, intention, like protection, intention. I would do that. Another crystal I really like is black tourmaline. I actually have black tourmaline on my door, like, because I don't want people coming into my house. I want to keep people away. So I actually used to sleep with selenite and black tourmaline underneath my pillow. So you could even do that when you're meditating, sit on top of selenite and black tourmaline. I also personally, I use sage and incense as well. So I will cleanse the space with sage. And once I'm done with that, I open up a window and I let any of the energy go out. And when I'm using sage, I'm setting the intention to just remove any energy that's not for my best and highest good. I feel like these are all really tangible. Salt, I would take kosher salt, bless it, put it in 4 corners of my bedroom, put it in the 4 corners of my house. And you can even go as far as putting it in the 4 corners of your property. And then you set that intention and that blessing as like another protective layer. And when you're connecting, call in Archangel Michael, because, or if you're feeling fear, say, hey, Mike, get rid of this. Like, I don't want to feel this. Get rid of whatever it is that's causing this fear, and it will go away. Number one thing, though, is belief work. You are scared because you hold this belief. So ask, where are these fears from? Because they're not real. They're programmed within you. So look at your childhood. Look at, like how Steph mentioned earlier, your religion. Were you taught that doing something like this is dangerous, that something like this is bad, that you could be harmed? And just really see where these fears are stemming from. So it's a lot of belief work in picking up on those triggerings of feeling fear and saying, where does this come from? And then when I find where it comes from, I just ask for my guides and my angels and my light beings to clear it and remove it and turn it into love.
I'm so happy you brought that up about looking into your past, because you're right. It even extends beyond religion, even the movies. Once again, going back to what we consume. I used to watch all these different types of movies, and I would be so drawn to horror movies and supernatural movies and paranormal movies. And it's true. Then you start connecting to this world and you don't realize that all this stuff kind of got buried beneath, within the layers of yourself. And then it starts coming out and you think that these beliefs are real, and that it just kind of manifests in your connection process. I started seeing shadows on the wall, and it's just, and I started getting scared, and it's just, I think that a lot of people hold a lot of fear because of this, because it's become normal. I mean, a lot of us were raised on television, right? Like, and by television, I don't necessarily mean TV shows. I mean, movies and even certain books. Really, it comes back to whatever you consume. So I also want to mention too, when you said black tourmaline, it's such a powerful stone for protection and also for grounding too. Brianna's holding up her tourmaline and she's waving it around, and it's so beautiful and it's big and it's like the size of your palm.
Yeah. Then just a quick little story. I went to a concert and I was hanging out outside afterwards with like the band, it was a pretty cool lady, and some other people that went to the concert. And I made a little witch friend, and she mined this black tourmaline from Maine, and her whole trunk was like full of crystals that she herself mined. And she gave me this gorgeous piece.
It is gorgeous. And I was going to say, you can even put black tourmaline on door frames too.
Yeah, right? I have one. Yeah. Well, so my door, it's so wonky. I don't have like a door frame on the top of my door, but I have like, I took the crystal and I just kind of shoved it in between like the outside of the door frame and like the wall. So it's just kind of like, it's going to probably be there for forever.
I also put it on my night table, because I have a table right beside my bed. And especially because I get a lot of messages and I meet a lot of different interdimensional beings through my dreams. So I like to make sure that I'm grounded. Oh, that also reminds me too. Black kyanite was a very good one I found when I was feeling very fearful as well. I would sleep with it near the bed. And Archangel Michael, I love that you also mentioned that, because I use him a lot too. I always call upon him in my dreams when I'm falling asleep. I actually I always call upon him before connecting. And I did that a lot at the beginning because I held all these fears and I just felt so safe with him. I guess because I just picture him as just this really, really tall, supernatural warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just that, I don't know. I think sometimes we can use whatever we need to really that will help us get past this fear. But like Brianna said, it's really you kind of have to really just deep dive into yourself and try to figure out where these fears came from in the first place so that you can work through them and heal them.
Belief work is always the answer.
Thank you again, Sophie, for this great question. I hope we provided some insight for that. If you need any more clarification, please feel free to send us another voice message. And for all you listeners, if you didn't know we had that feature, we do. If you go onto our Anchor page or even on Spotify, there should be a link that'll take you directly to the page where you can record your own voice message for a chance to be featured in our next episode. And now it is time for the weekly card pull. So we're going to see what energies we're working with for the week ahead. Okay, I've pulled 2 cards today, and the first one is the Great Gathering. It's all coming together. Intuitive hits, Soul Tribe. And as soon as I saw the word Soul Tribe, I kept thinking of finding your people, especially as an empath. It's finding the people that are an energetic match and not necessarily discriminating against those that aren't an energetic match, but just knowing who is and who isn't for you and who you need to really set boundaries with and protect your energy with. And on the image of this card, it's just so beautiful because there are just a bunch of souls gathering together. And I think that's really the message, is to listen to your intuitive hits. So when it comes to identifying as an empath, it's really just getting to know yourself and who you are, because the more you listen to your intuition, the more you'll understand what or who is and isn't for you. And then the second card, it makes me smile because it really goes back to protecting your energy. It's deep replenishment, retreat, rest, and be held. And sometimes, as an empath, you may find that you're doing all the holding. You're holding up others because other people are drawn to you and magnetized to you in your energy. And sometimes you'll find that a lot of people might come to you for advice and for wisdom and to help them solve all their problems, so much so that you begin to take their problems, their issues, their difficulties in life, their lessons as your own. So this is such a good message to remind yourself that it is okay to retreat, which means that it's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first and retreat, step back and rest and just allow yourself to be held by the earth or even by someone that you love. It's really important to fill up your own cup and fill your own inner well, and also to tend to that inner garden.
I think it's really important too for everyone to just fully embrace who they are and fully embrace themselves and understand that you are not alone. We really are all in this together. And you can really lean on the people who are there to fully support you and the people who see your light. If you don't have people in your life right now who see your light, then try and take that as a mirror and really go within, so then that way you can see the light that you hold within yourself. So you can see your light so other people can see it. All right, and we've come to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey all about being an empath. Next week, we have Lauren from Open to Alchemy on, and she's going to be discussing all things human design, which is amazing because Steph and I talk about being projectors pretty frequently. I really feel that a lot. So I'm really excited. All right, we'll see everyone next week.